So I want to go back to, because it's related to that, I want to go back to your original talking point about the fact that you have 3 different disciplines that you're kind of in right now, and you thought they'd be related, and that they're not.
Oh, yeah.
So I want you to talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. So I tend to focus in illustration, in screen printing, and then a thing that I casted away like a baseball into the nether realms of the universe, which was painting. I'm back to painting, and it's really interesting to me that I thought that, these things are all art making, they're all artistic expressions, but they each have the thing that makes it the thing. You know what I mean? Like screen printing exists because you use this archaic form of printmaking, and you output it on clothing, on posters, on whatever. Painting is, again, an old master form of taking pigment and putting it on a canvas and then creating an image. And then illustration is like always in this battle where it's like considered kitsch, or it's something that's tangible, realistic art. And so I remember I had this huge focus point on 2019 to be like, all right, I'm going to equip myself with what I need to like be an artist and do art, but also be a responsible human being, be a husband, be a coworker, be a son, all those things. And my wife is like super patient. She's like, you can do this. We got a wedding we got to do, but we can do this. And so every step of the way, like, she's helped me set up my studio when we moved into our apartment, setting up, making sure like, that I was making that space a place where I could create. And then I quickly realized, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to sit in here and I'm going to work. Like, I've been working on this like artwork piece for about 2 years now, where I do micro like life drawings, and I take that life drawing and I finish it, and it has to be ink. It has to be, the only other color I can use is cool gray. I think it's like a Prismacolor, like a plug for Prismacolor.
Shout out Prisma.
And so it's like a cool gray on there. And so I do a live study of whatever. And then on top of that drawing is the word I associate with that life drawing. No explanation. Just, it's kind of like very freeform. And it just reminded me of like how much I loved life drawing, and how that was an easy way to break the monotony of like not being able to create something. And it turned into a piece. And it's also on such a small scale. And that's like kind of the funness with working with markers, like marker or ink or any pen. Working small scale is so tough because it takes one pressure too much to just like ink blot out, and you're done. And
then you just fuck the whole thing.
There's no erasing that. You gotta, it's out with the...
Either that or you work with it. You improvise and you turn that mistake into a happy accident.
Yeah, which is not as easy as Bob Ross makes it, let me tell you.
It's not. Well, Bob Ross, because he's not using ink.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, his little happy tree. Yeah, you know what a happy tree doesn't look like? A black blob.
Yeah, that completely just covered your tiny little line work.
So I'm working on that, and I feel really complete with that. And then I go, this is on such a small scale. And then I go to painting, and I switch over to this big canvas, and I start working on it. My arms get tired, and I'm like, this is so fudging big.
Yeah. And you can say fuck. It doesn't matter.
I wasn't sure. I was trying to avoid curse words.
No, I curse way too much on it. I'm not even monetized right now. It's all good. You need 1,000 subscribers, which, by the way, please get me there. But you need 1,000 subscribers before you can even apply for monetization. So
okay.
Fuck it.
But hey, you know what? Man, it's so hard for me to say, but fuck it, right? But yeah, so you're like looking at this big fucking canvas, and you're just like, all right, I'm gonna work this out, and you gotta let it dry. And the thing I like about acrylic is you can like you can make it malleable. You can add and subtract things to it to make it thicker and viscous and all this cool stuff. But man, if you don't mix that paint the exact same way the next time, you got to learn to work with it, and that's a hard thing for me to do. So then, you leave your painting, you let it dry over, you add the next layer. And then I think, I'm going to go back to this thing. Well, my hand's covered in ink. I don't want to ruin that. And then you're just like, and then all of a sudden, while it's drying, it's like the drying of this time to let this work just insists upon your brain. And it's kind of like dating. It's kind of like you went on a date. It was great. You like each other. It's awesome. And you leave, you go home, and you get in your house, put your pajamas on, you lay in bed. And before you close your eyes, you think, is it too soon to text them? Is it weird to say have a good night? and then all of a sudden you're just like second guessing this thing you're working on, and you're just like, all right, I don't want to come back to this too soon. Then I'm gonna give it time, and then sometimes that time ends up like 3 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
And then screen printing's the worst. Screen printing's the worst because I don't have a studio. My first studio I set up when I moved to Chicago was in my old apartment, and we had all this basement space. And I remember I created a dark room out of our storage container, and I pierced 2 screens because like I like moved my old roommate's ex-girlfriend's bike the wrong way, and it just kind of like, and it's you know,
yeah,
again,
it's
you learn
mistake. Yeah.
punctures through. I'm like, oh damn. And then like I don't have the right cleaning, so like I would blow through a screen easily cleaning it out.
Mm-hmm.
Now in my new apartment, I don't have a dark room, so now I have to find a resource to get the screen shot for me, which is cool. But the thing about doing it in my old space was that it gave it kind of like these grungy tones to it. So like,
yeah,
you can see spots where it kind of just blows out, you know.
Yeah,
and that was cool. That was like, I like the amateur idea of the project, and that's what was like. The project was going to feed into itself to get more and more sort of refined as I was able to procure the tools to make it finer.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, like, you know, you're cleaning that, you're washing that out, and you're like, oh man, I could make 100 screens. I could sit on my iPad Pro and I can design it, but what does it mean for a collection of apparel? That's a whole different thought process than, oh, is that paint just the right, you know, pigment for me?
Yeah.
Oh, is that blot not in the way? And so those 3 things coincide, and it's kind of like having Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and I'm Donald Duck, and I'm like, you fucking kids.
Yeah.
It's a fucking madhouse.
But it seems like it seems like you're learning a lot though from those mistakes, because you learn more from your failures than you do from your successes anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, the things that you've learned in that, you probably haven't made too many of the same mistake over and over and over again. I don't want to speak for you, but...
You know, I definitely like blown through less screens.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that doesn't mean you don't stop blowing through them, but yeah.
Oh, no, for sure. I had this mistake. So, I did a pre-order for a shirt design for Passive Poison on Black Friday. I was feeling, you know, I'd got the Squarespace page up. Squarespace like launched something where you can do like an easier sort of temporary launch in your store. So I was like, you know what, let's go for it. You know, fuck it. I got to print it, you know, like, I know I can print it. And so I found a company in Austin that could get the screenshot for me, mail it to Chicago. And so I did the pre-order, I ordered the screens, and that company never got back to me. So I had about 10 pre-orders, and I was like emailing, like, I have to find a place to get this screen made. I didn't get that screen like made and finished like well until like November late November, early December. Fuck. And then I had to like, you know, go get, you know, the sweaters they're being printed on, and it came out nice, but it was very rushed. And then like the Champion shirt thickness, like I definitely have 2 or 3 like really bad prints on Champion sweaters that like, you know, you just like the thickness of it, the pull, and I don't have, again, this setup that's like I can make every pull the same consistently. So I like literally learned at that point, you know what? No more pre-orders. Done with pre-orders. It's gonna be like, here are the screens I have made. I know I could make these. I'm not gonna start doing orders till screens are in my house. You know. Yeah. And yeah, you learn from it. And then there's there's the piece of Passive Poison that's really weird for me to sort of engage with, is that it's a wearable, and my friends that own it and that I see consistently wear it, and I'm always like, oh my god, I'm so thankful to have friends that would do that. Like, that's so
that rep your merch.
Dope. Yeah. But then the other part of me is like, damn, that registration's a little off. You know, and I'm just like, fuck.
Well, that's the perfectionist, right? Is like, you know, you see your own work and you're going to critique it in a way that nobody else is.
Yeah, that's true. It's
that's the imposter syndrome too.
It's the imposter. It's that little fucker. It's the imposter syndrome is like a vestigial twin that just like hangs out. And
it's just always
right,
there.
Dude, you suck, but thanks for hanging around and playing the game. Like,
yeah, and you know, I think what you were saying before about it being kind of a humbling experience, to have that. I think there is a point where, yes, it is. I think there is a point where it goes too far and it gets in your way.
Yeah.
So it's this weird, delicate balance where you definitely want to make sure you base yourself in reality. You got to ground yourself. You're not God, you know. You're not Yeezy, right? Which I was talking with Eric about Kanye earlier, but and how he's no longer a fan of Kanye at all.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, he's just like, I'm not. He's like, I used to be, but not anymore. But I think, like, you know, Kanye is the perfect example of that, like, ego gone way too far.
Yeah.
And then you have other people where they're like too self-conscious. I don't even know if I have any good examples of that, of people who are really talented but are really self-conscious, and it ends up getting in the way of their work. They end up not making as good of work because they're so worried about it.